Hey, get over here. He's calling all nerds.
Oh, jeez. Here come the nerds.
It's time to talk to the interested and interesting.
I was wondering when the nerd would come.
And here's your host, Mike Thayer.
Oi! I'm back, folks. It's time to talk to the interested and interesting. I'm your host, Mike Thayer. It's calling all nerds. How have you been? It's been a while. It's been like 4 or 5 weeks. I'm still alive. I'm calling all nerds is still alive and well. Just had a lot of things going on. A lot of them revolved around this big, huge mad dash to get to the end of draft number 2 for Techno-Wizard 3, the Vacant Realm. So I needed to do that in order to get it into my editor's hands. It is now in her hands, so she can edit it. She can get it back to me. I can get the last couple of updates done and then get this bad boy published before the school year starts at the end of August. I actually want to get it published before I go down to the Renaissance Fair in Utah. I also might go to FanX, which is Salt Lake City, the former Salt Lake City Comic-Con. I'm not sure quite yet. But I would like to have 3 books when I go down there. So, yeah, I've just been doing this huge mad dash. A bunch of other things have been going on as well. Went down and did the Whitney Awards. I did not win. A former guest of Calling All Nerds did. Jennifer Nielsen won 3 of them. So she needed to have a second spine installed in order for her to drag out all of the awards that she won that night. Well deserved. She knows what she's doing. She's a pro. She's done written like 16 books. So it would have been really cool for Passage to Avalon to win, but it was also cool just to be down there and to be a finalist. So that was cool. Danny Doubleday, still on submission. It's been on submission with publishers for like 8 weeks, which is longer than I wanted it to. But still waiting to hear back from publishers. It just takes one to say, we love your book, we want to publish it. So, yes, my foray into the traditional publishing world is still on hold. It is waiting for a publisher to get back. So, hopefully someone will pick it up. I'm crossing my fingers, but most of the time, honestly, I just try to put it from my mind and focus on Techno-Wizard. So, Techno-Wizard 3, yeah, as I said, second draft is done. I think it's going to be a solid book. This one has taken a long time in order for it to sort of solidify as a story. So it's a titch longer than book 2. I was aiming for the same length. It's, I think, 106,000 words as it stands. Book 2 was 97. Book 1 was 76. So we're getting a little bit longer as we go here. Let's see. 1 minute media review. So I don't have one movie that I want to review super duper fast, but I'll do multiple because I've been away for a few weeks. I saw Aladdin. Aladdin was meh. They screwed up the computer animation with the genie. For some reason, they didn't. I don't think they ever painted Will Smith's skin blue. I think they always made it computer animation. And so even when you should just be looking at a Will Smith's blue face, it was still that like layer of computer animation between you and the character, and it messed with his eyes, and I don't know. It just kind of distanced me from the character. So, and I also thought they should have leaned in more to the whole Will Smith rapping thing. Because they did it a little bit, but I don't think they did it enough. Because a lot of times when he would like deliver lines, you're like, oh, yeah, Robin Williams kind of did it better. Anywho, Godzilla. Saw Godzilla King of Monsters. If you're like big monsters fighting each other, then you've probably seen most of it in the trailer. But there's still a lot of cool scenes in the movie. Was not nearly as good as the first one in 2014. Unfortunately. Then we saw Crimes of Grindelwald finally got released end of last year. That movie, for those of you who have not seen it, is a dumpster fire. It's really, really bad. It is all over the map. You don't know what the characters are doing. I don't know. If someone needs to, I don't know. I get the feeling like no one tells J.K. Rowling what to do anymore. And she doesn't have a very good editor, or at least an editor that will stand up to her. So she just kind of whatever she writes goes, or something. Because yikes, that movie was horrendous. And I've usually got like a lot of forgiveness for cool fantasy movies, but that one was just blech. Grinds my gears. What grinds my gears? I will tell you what grinds my gears lately. It's something I've seen my entire life in movies, TV shows, and cartoons. I cannot remember where I just saw it, but I just saw it again. I jotted it down for it grinds my gears. Why in 2019, every time, why ever actually, but especially now, anytime a character has a soda with a straw, right? So like a kind of a drink you get like at a fountain machine. Why is it the slurping sound anytime someone takes a sip from it? Like, That's the sound you get when you're out of soda. We realize this, right? Like the sound guy has to know this. Like anytime they take a drink, anytime it's a full drink, a shake, or whatever, TV show, movie, cartoon, it's... That's not the sound you get when you drink from a full cup. When you drink from a full cup, you don't get a sound. It's okay not to put a sound in there. We understand the character's taking a drink. It drives me up the freaking wall. Every time I see it. I see the drink, I see it's coming, I brace for the cringe, and sure enough... Stop it! Put the correct sound effect in there, even if the correct sound effect is silence. Alright, anyway, this week I've got the Jurgys. So I've been trying to track the Jurgys down for a long time. Finally did. This interview was actually before I took my hiatus for the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. So I talked to them about a month ago. They are an awesome couple. They travel all around the United States and the world just doing cool stuff. They're a young couple. They got a young child. And it started with actually a cancer scare. Wife thought she was had cancer, and so they decided they were going to do an adventure every week and post videos online, and they just kind of got more elaborate. And now they like leave little hidden treasures around. Anyway, I just love the concept. They used to be a neighbor of my brother's actually before they bought an RV and just started traveling in perpetuity. But I wanted to sit them down because I love this concept of just throwing caution to the wind and living life to the fullest and enjoying yourself and having adventures. Just a better way to live life, and I've been all about that. Obviously, this last year, doing something completely different and taking time away from the corporate world to write and to follow other passions. So it was really cool to sit down with someone who leans into it that much, who is like really gone for broke, and he lives such a cool and unique life. So I will let the interview tell you all the rest of their story and their cool adventures and all the crazy stuff that the Jurgys get up to. So without any further ado, the Jurgys. So this week I am joined by the Jurgys. I do not know the Jurgys. I've only met them one time. They used to be a neighbor of my brother. Now they're a neighbor of either nobody or everybody, depending on how you look at it. So they're, I don't know, maybe you call yourselves a YouTube family who travels the world doing all sorts of cool adventures. You have something like 200,000 subscribers. I first ran into you outside my brother's house, and I think you guys were in, I think you were in Pokemon costumes or something. I can't remember exactly what you were. But my brother was like, you got to meet this guy. He's super cool. I was like, okay. And then we just drove down the road. I was like, oh, there he is. And yeah, so that's how I first met you. But I'll kind of let you guys introduce yourselves as far as how it all started. But from my understanding, it all started, actually, this crazy life of yours on the road, traveling, doing all these adventures with a cancer scare.
Yep.
It's true. That is accurate.
Yeah.
Nellie, she's holding Evelyn, so I'll tell this, I guess. But yeah, I was gone on a shoot. I was with a production, marketing, creative agency at the time, and we were making viral videos for lots of big companies and like Pepsi and Verizon. And I was gone on a shoot, and then I got a phone call from her, and she was really emotional on the phone and said that she had found a lump and went in to get it checked, and they were fairly confident it was cancer, so they were waiting on results. And so
a very shortened story.
Yeah, I bet it's a lot more complicated than that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's all I knew. But in the background, go ahead.
Well, you know how like doctors aren't supposed to like say anything? Like
Right.
they're just like, oh, yeah, we will call you. Well, my doctor was like, okay, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. Usually cancer feels like this, cyst feels like this. It feels like it could be cancerous. It doesn't feel like it's a cyst. So then I went to like 3 other appointments that day, got a biopsy done, had an ultrasound down, all the things. And you know what's crazy is that the night before, and this is I think why it was such a big awakening call for us, because the night before I had a really vivid dream that I had cancer, and that
Wow.
my time was short and that I needed to make the most of it. And so when I woke up and I found the lump, I was like,
way.
oh my gosh, I have cancer. And then all that
That's
happened.
crazy.
So we were, yeah, it was just kind of a huge wake-up call emotionally, mentally, spiritually, of just how we were living our life, and decided we needed to make the most of it from then on out with no excuses.
So you said after that scare, in fact, you didn't even know, I think, looking back at the video, you didn't know the results yet, but you said, we're going to do an adventure every week. We're going to post some sort of either a video every week or an adventure every week. So what was you just kind of wanted to live life to the fullest, or what was your thought process behind that?
Yeah, I mean, our lives were bad, but we were, I think, too comfortable. We both had, I mean, good jobs, and we did a 9 to 5, and we came home, and we did adventures on the weekend, but, like, it just wasn't fulfilling us completely, but I think we were scared to take that step. And Bryce has been wanting to start a YouTube channel forever, and I was like, no, 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 no. And then as soon as all that happened, I just had a lot of time to think, and I was like, wow. And especially with my dream, it was just like, I need more of it. Like, we got to make this happen. So
Yeah, anytime that there was a pause or a slow moment in the day, Nelly would just look over at me and start crying.
oh my gosh. Anytime he left for work, I would just bawl.
And so she was just like, we need to do more adventures, so whatever happens, we have those memories, but then also it's a good way to pass time and make the most of this life. So the YouTube channel, she's like, also, I just want to be real and add support out there to anyone who's going through this as well, because this sucks. And so we uploaded that first video, not knowing what the results would be, not exactly fully knowing how we would do our channel, but we just knew we wanted to do adventures every week and inspire families to go on adventures with their loved ones as well.
So what are example of some of these adventures for someone who hasn't seen your YouTube channel, and then how have they evolved over years?
So they range quite large.
Yeah. Adventure can be a pretty general term, or specific, but as long as it kind of gets you, if it's something that you're excited to look forward to, we think that everyone should always have something they're excited about. And so ours have ranged from, we filmed going to local concerts on our cell phone to then going to southern Utah and rock climbing, eventually evolved to a spontaneous trip to Thailand and taking care of elephants at a sanctuary.
Wow.
And then you saw us in Pokemon outfits.
Yeah. What were you guys doing that night?
So that when Pokemon Go was such a craze, do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
We would be driving, and one day Nelly picked me up from work, and we passed Provo, Utah Library. Hundreds of people just standing next to each other and not even talking. And she's like, "Okay, we got to add more spunk to these guys' lives." And so we ordered Pokemon outfits, made huge Pokeballs out of exercise balls, and
within like hours.
Yeah.
And we were on it.
And we threw a spontaneous dodgeball Pokemon capture thing where, like, we had someone dressed up as Ash go in the middle. He lit some sparklers as flares, and then
man, were people stoked or what?
I bet.
Yeah, we actually got pelted pretty hard. Like, some people had a lot of pent up energy just hucking those dodgeballs.
Yeah.
But infusing life back into the Pokemon Go folks.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So we did that.
So cool.
It evolved. Within a few weeks, it evolved to, we're like, okay, at least every week, let's hide a treasure somewhere, like a geocache treasure.
Yeah.
So there's that little extra incentive to be like, whoa, that's within a drive. Let's go find that. And then it gets people free products or trips or whatever.
Yeah, so Evelyn, she started when we were 3 months, and now she's almost 14 months. She has done a helicopter tour over Mount Rushmore. She has fished with bears. She's had personal encounters with like alligators and giraffes and swamp tours, and like this girl has seen and done it all.
And
She's setting the bar pretty high for the rest of her life. She's got to do some. She's got to go to the moon. She can be the first person to colonize Mars. Like,
maybe
it's
so.
possible. That'd Bryce's dream.
Yeah, she won't remember any of this until she looks back and watches videos, and then hopefully
but how cool is that she's got it all recorded?
Yeah.
That is so rad. That's when my brother told me about the treasures. That was like one of the things that caught my attention the most, because I have definitely not gone as far as you guys have, as far as like throwing caution in the wind and getting out in the world and doing adventures. But my podcast listeners will know I've been on this leave of absence for 8 months. So
that's huge.
It was weird because James. James he's a bit different than me, but we're similar in a lot of ways. I thought I was being hired by Exxon, and Exxon was going to retire me as well. And there's no other way to do it, and that's what you did. You worked for the company for 30 years, or 35 years, or 40 years, and they paid you big good money, and you got out, you had 4 weeks vacation, and that's what you had. And didn't matter how much you liked your job, you just kind of put on your shoulder, So this was just how my life was going to go. And the thing that changed it for me was my dad passing away in 2017, so from cancer, oddly enough. So it just changed the whole context of my life. And my dad was the one that, oddly enough, was the guy that sort of said, look, you get a job and you stick with the job. Because I have an older dad. Me and James have, he was 54 when he had me. So
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
so he worked at BYU for the same job for 54 years. So this guy grew up in the Great Depression. The most important thing for him was get a job,
Yeah.
stay with that job, right? Go with the most stable company on planet Earth. Go to ExxonMobil. Two sons went to Exxon, but when he died, I always kind of said my dad's last gift to me was one he never anticipated on giving me, which was a change in mindset. It was almost like his advice got me to where I am today, which is good, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But when he passed away, it was almost like, okay, now I can do something a bit different. And I might end up going back to Exxon depending on how things go, but like this year has been so awesome. And I've just done, I've written my books, I've started a podcast, we've, picked up and went down to Southern Utah for a week, just barely, and it's just been like so liberating. And I look at like, okay, how far could someone take this? I look at the Jurgys. Like, this is how far someone could take this.
You can take it as far as you want.
You can take it as far as you want. And I love the concept because when I talk, so I go around and do school visits with kids, and it's like one of my favorite things on planet Earth. And I talk to them about surround yourself with awesomeness. Like that's got to be key, right? So my office is just a bunch of Lord of the Rings stuff, and I got all the Lord of the Rings swords, and and then I installed an Excalibur in my front walkway. I drilled a hole in a big so we have these big sandstone blocks there, and I was like, that needs an Excalibur. So I drilled a hole in it, and I have a flipping sword cemented in a block. I put like a secret door in my basement, and I just tell kids like, don't grow out of this, guys. You know it's cool. And one of the things that every person on planet Earth knows is cool is finding treasure. Like that is so tell me about this. Tell me about these treasures that you leave, and like what kind of clues do you leave? And has anyone gotten back to you after finding it? Like tell me all about your whole treasure finding experience.
So we were so pumped on the idea. We did our first like avenue we did with it. We did a car camping trip. We slept in a car or camped in a tent from just the top of Mexico to Canada along the Pacific coast, and we hid treasures the whole way up the coast. And we kept telling ourselves like, oh, imagine this one. Like we hid one on an island in Southern California, in Bear River. There was kind of this little island, and we talked about how cool it would be when someone comes to find it. No one went for these treasures for months. We didn't hear anything.
We first were getting started.
Yeah, probably 8 months of just silence.
Are you leaving just clues to it? Or are you actually leaving? Because I think sometimes you leave like the GPS, the Google Maps like location to it. And you put it in bottles. Like what are the treasures that you leave?
Yeah, they're these kind of. How would you describe the bottles? Yeah, I'll grab one. I mean, they're. Are you using this video too?
I can put it on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll grab it.
So it's kind of like an old. They're all different colors, different designs, but they're kind of. I just have Bryce show you. They're quite eccentric, and so they're exciting to find.
Yeah, we wanted them to look a little old, kind of. And there's green and clear and blue. The cork fell out of this one, but we then we have a little Jurgy adventure pin we pin in the top of the cork. But yeah, then there's a handwritten note from us in there. And the notes vary depending on where we are and what we did in that area. But sometimes all we do is show visual clues. So we'll show video, and we think that the place is iconic enough that we'll just say, there's that, and then here's this tree, and then we hide it near that.
Yep.
But if it's a little more difficult, we'll put up GPS coordinates. We save all the GPS coordinates, and we haven't shown it yet, but we have. So right now, most of the U.S. has our dots of hidden treasures all over.
That's so cool. Have you gone to all 50 or all 48 at least states? No, but you've been to Hawaii. You were there for the flipping missile scare.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, on a baby.
How crazy is that?
It was supposed to be this relaxing trip before our baby came, and day 2 of being there, we thought we were gonna die.
That's great. So have you been to all 40 or all 50 states?
Not yet.
Almost. Well, we've driven through a lot of them, but ventured and hidden our treasure. We have 10 states left
Uh-huh.
after
wow.
we're currently in. So
Yeah.
we're almost there. It's been almost a year now.
So do you have
Uh-huh.
any idea how many of your treasures have been discovered?
Oh yeah.
Almost all of them now.
Yeah, so now we back to that first trip we did where no one found any of them.
Right.
We were in New York. We went to New York to pitch a company to hopefully sponsor this thing we were doing. That didn't work. That fell through. So it's kind of a bust trip. But our last night there, we got a notification on our phones of a mom in Seattle that had just come across our channel. Her kids were all in bed. She woke her kids up and her husband, and they drove 2 hours to go find one of our treasures, and she made a video about it. And it was late in New York when we got the notification, but we watched it, and we were so pumped.
That is so
And
awesome.
seriously, within that month, another mom and her kids got up, drove like.
They rode a ferry,
50.
too. It was a 10-hour trip for them to go find one of our treasures.
And so all of our treasures, except I think for one in Canada, from that trip had got found
Mhm.
eventually. And now all our treasures are usually found within 24 hours, 24 to
Holy cow,
40.
really?
Yeah,
Do you have
sometimes-
anyone that's double dipped? Anyone that's gotten more than one?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
With a group of people just following you around?
They're in different states, so I don't know how.
Yeah, she went 7 hours one way for one, and then 4 for another.
Holy cow.
But they'll post on Instagram and Facebook and tag us so that we can have proof online and we share it with
Then
everyone.
we had another guy get on a plane and fly
That's
to
true.
Alaska,
He used his miles, his frequent mile
and he
points.
found our Alaska treasure.
No way. What a brilliant idea, though, because if someone can go on their own adventure,
Uh-huh.
following your adventure. So it's not just like, hey, you're sharing your adventure. Is you're actually getting people, incentivizing people to do their own adventures.
Yeah.
And then there's a
so
freaking treasure at the end of it. Like, that is so cool. That
So
is
that's
so
one
cool.
thing we were like, okay, we have to do this because, I mean, you can watch all YouTube channels and Instagram and whatever, and you see all these people doing these safaris in Africa and Thailand on these blue beaches, and you're like, man, I love that. I want to do it. But, like, really, how likely are people able to do it? So our motivation was like, okay, well, let's show this, but then let's provide the experience for people to have either the same adventure or something similar. So a lot of times now when the treasure, like people go and find a treasure and they don't find it because somebody else has found it, because a lot of times multiple people will go for it,
Yeah, we let everyone know as soon as it's found, but sometimes
Right.
people go at the same time.
and they're still like, we didn't find the treasure, but thank you so much for giving our family this opportunity. It was so fun. Our kids were so excited. It was a beautiful day outside or whatever. So we're getting people outside, which is our main goal, to spend time to each other, like with each other, make memories. Like, you know, like how many, I feel like you go outside and everybody's on their phones, or you're in a restaurant and the whole family's on their phones. But this forces people to get out and like create those memories together in that bond. So anyway, that's like our main motivation. So we're really pumped about the treasure thing.
So how many treasures have you hidden?
Oh gosh, over 100.
Holy cow.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your bottle budget? Your monthly bottle budget?
We splurged a lot of stores that had them one season, and we actually have like 4 left, so we need to restock.
Here come the
Hopefully
Jurgys.
Yeah,
The bottle people just are licking their chops every time you guys come. That's so cool, and I love the concept. Like right when I heard the concept of hiding treasures, I was like, oh, I want to do something like that. I want to like go hide some treasure somewhere and have someone go find it, because that's like, as you're a kid poking around in the dirt or in a field somewhere. You know, my daughter is obsessed with gemstones right now, and like if she were to find a gemstone, if she were to find like some quartz, I mean, we were just, we talked before we started recording about how we went to southern Utah disparately. Every single hike we were on, she had a handful of rocks. I was like, Sienna, we're hiking 4 miles. Like, pick the rock up on the way back. I couldn't let her let go. I couldn't get her to let go of these stupid rocks. And like, anytime it had a little bit of quartz in it, a little bit of something cool, so I usually holding onto one of her hands, and she had this handful of rocks in the other hand. And I was like, those are hardly even treasures. If she were to find a real cool treasure, a Jurgy bottle or something like that, oh man, it would make her life,
Do it. Find one of
I know.
our treasures.
We should.
That's
You guys
cool.
gotta
We'll come back to Montana.
come back to Montana. I ought to be quick, but I think we can do it. So where are you guys right now?
Currently, we are in Florida.
We just got here.
Yeah. So we're by Daytona Beach area, and yeah, we'll be here a few days. See you in Florida. We're gonna do an adventure with some manatees. Nellie's always wanted to swim with manatees in the water. So
I'm actually a little scared, but I also really want to do it. So
Yeah.
we'll see how this goes.
yeah, every state we try to do something that excites us or scares us. This is both.
That is super cool.
And then then we'll start heading up the coast a little bit more before we cut back west.
How far ahead do you plan?
Usually we're at least a few states ahead with where we're gonna stay, who we're working with, what adventure we're gonna do. So usually, I would say we're 2 weeks ahead. I don't know. I guess it depends on how fast we go through the states. But yeah, usually I try to be like 4 or 5 states ahead.
'Cause I would
And if
imagine
we
when
have-
you, no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sometimes we'll have people reach out. Hey, I don't know when you're coming to our state, but you should do this. That's so helpful. So some things we have well in advance, depending on that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I would imagine when you started, it was kind of just like, well, here we go. And now you're probably working with businesses or at least people who put on stuff like a manatee encounter or something like that. So how has that evolved from just being like, well, we're going to leave to going, okay, now people are actually going to work with us and
Trial and error.
Yeah, now it's like for Florida, for example, we had 4 different companies that wanted to work with us. So we just had to select the one that we felt fit us best and the one who's most excited to provide a treasure. The people who get it, we love working with because they're like, they get so excited that a family is going to come or just some friends and find the treasure and get to experience it. So we also try to play on what's interesting enough that when people see the title on YouTube, they're like, whoa, I got to see that.
Right.
But we still, what trumps is it something we're going to love and we think someone else will love, then we'll go with that.
We've kind of learned, though, that we have to remember that things are really cool. Because I think we've made this our life, that every few days we're doing something epic, that now it's like, okay, we're going to go do this. And Bryce is like, is this cool enough? I'm like, yeah, Bryce, you have to remember, like, people aren't living the life that we are. And we have to remember how, like, blessed we are to be doing this trip. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, but I mean, it's so fun. Like, we're extremely lucky to be able to do this. So I think all of our treasures are pretty dang awesome.
I have to go bungee jumping out of a helicopter again. Didn't we just do that in like South Dakota? Like, what's the... That's interesting you say that because I have gone through, and I've talked about this in recent episodes on my podcast. I've gone through a pretty interesting and unexpected emotional roller coaster following, quote unquote, my dream for the last 8 months. Because when it was something I had to, like, you know, when I had to write books in my spare time and I had to, like, scrimp and scratch and steal moments, it was kind of always special. And when I first left the day job and I wrote a book, those first 4 months were just, like, euphoric. It was like, I've never had this kind of time. I never thought I would get this time. It was just like, this is great. And then as the financial impacts, everything started to settle in, and I'm like, well, am I going to be able to do this indefinitely? And then it was kind of like, oh, crud, I'm going to have to go back, and now I'm dreading going back. And I'm writing another book. I've written a couple other books in the meantime, and every time it's different. And now it's like, do you ever get used to that? Do you forget how bad it used to be? Do you normalize the cool things that you do? And so it's been very interesting as I tried on, like, new lenses. To kind of think about it. So that's interesting to hear you guys say that. Someone who does epic things for a living that you could get. Do you ever feel like epic fatigue? Like, can we just stay somewhere for a week and just chill? Like, at the beach somewhere?
Yeah, it hit me even more, too, over Christmas break. We took a break to go be a family. And Nellie's family got a cabin in Tahoe, which, a dream. We're there, beautiful snow. There's a few good resorts there for snowboarding and skiing. And I was exhausted at this point because we were just go. When we got to the cabin, everyone went out sledding, and I was kind of slow to get on my gear to go out. And I remember thinking, I just want to sit on the couch and do this. And Nellie's brother came over to me, and he's like, so this is just kind of a normal day for you, huh? And I was like, yeah, I guess but it was his vacation time. And so it hit me that it's like, oh, yeah, I need to consciously... It's good just to consciously be aware and take a moment to pause, because then you do realize how special it is. That's one way.
That's very interesting. Yeah, you take something like sledding, which is
Yeah.
like for you, it's probably like, yeah, I've sled down Mount Kilimanjaro or whatever you guys have done,
Well,
and
it's not that
yeah.
I have that attitude, right? It's just like, oh, I'm tired, but yeah. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, it's just kind of you've done stuff like that all the time, so it's not like special to you. Where someone who's like, yeah, I've been sitting on my butt in an office for 10 hours a day for the last year. This is different. That's so
Yeah.
weird. That's so cool though. But it's amazing that this was one of the things that shocked me is when I finally told my boss, I remember the conversation, which is weird because I might end up going back there. But I told him, I was like, look, man, I'm done. And he's like, you're done? And I was like, yeah, dude, I think I'm done. And he's like, what? And then, and we had the conversation. But it was weird because it was like, it seemed like an impossibility. Like the life that I'm kind of have been living the last 8 months couldn't have been real. But all it took was 2 words. And then all of a sudden, like, boom, you're on the other side of it. And it's
And
crazy.
then the moment you committed to saying those words,
Yeah, it's wild.
like,
So people think like, oh yeah, I mean, what the Jurgys are doing, I can't do that. I can't do that. But like,
yeah,
really, you could.
It took Nelly a while to finally leave her job.
it
I-
did. But I really liked my job, so it was a difference.
What
I
did
just,
you do?
like, I worked in a law office, which sounds like it'd be really stressful, but I just worked with really great people, so and it was a very professional setting, so I really liked it, and I liked learning about law. But I mean, now I'm like, yeah, this works. This is good.
Did this edge out the magical adventures of the Jurgys edges out the law office just by a hair?
Just a tiny bit. No, but I really like that you talked about, because I'm sure you were like dreading the moment, because I think we all think
yeah.
like, I gotta talk to my boss. Now he's gonna be so mad at me, and he's gonna hate me, and then he's gonna fire me, and I'm never gonna get a job again. But here you are and leave, and you have the possibility of going back if you want to. And it's like, how you never knew that your boss would probably be understanding,
Right.
And here he is seeing your books out, and like
Which
you
I love
actually
your books.
accomplishing your dreams, and like that's so cool. Like you're making things happen.
Yeah, and no matter what happens, again, I've talked to quite a few other authors too that have like done the whole. I've had a day job for a while. I didn't. I get back to it, and one guy he gave me some great advice. He's like, look, you cannot see this if you go back to your day job as a failure. And
Yeah.
number 2,
Yeah.
failure is part of success. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is ingrained into success. And I was actually telling, so I teach one of the things, random things that happen. I teach early morning seminary now because the second I became the stay-at-home guy, the work-from-home guy, I got put on that list for early morning seminary
Sure.
teaching. So, yeah, so I was telling talking to the kids about like that whole concept of failure being part of success. And I was like, even if you went undefeated, let's say in your basketball career or something, to practice to get that good, you have to fail all the time. Every time you shoot a shot and you miss it, that's a failure. But you
That's
can't get
true.
good at shooting a ball at all unless you fail 100,000 times. And so even if someone's like undefeated, you're like, oh, that guy didn't fail. It's like, yeah, he did. He failed
Did.
every day in practice. He failed every, and so it's just part of your life. So I think that's another one of those mindset lenses that I had. At first I was like, oh, if I have to go back to my job, it's a failure. But like, has this year been a failure? No, I got to coach my kids, football team. I got to travel around with my daughter's soccer teams. I got to just spend way more time with my kids. I got to do what I wanted. I get to talk to people like you. Like I wouldn't know who you guys were. I would never have this conversation. I never, it would have just been background noise. I have to go work at the refinery. I've got to do it with my kids, which would have been an okay life. It's not like,
True.
But there's just more fulfilling ways to live. As I'm
Yeah.
finding. And now I'm
I
like,
think
what other things could I be doing?
Yeah,
That's
totally,
always been my
right?
curse. My curse. I mean, like one of my other brothers, his big thing is like he doesn't know necessarily what his passion is. Like if he quit his day job, he's like, I don't know what I would do. Whereas I was like, the world is my oyster. Like,
Yeah.
what can't I do? Like I would love to just do what you're doing. I would love to be a hunter and just spend my whole life hunting. I stink hunting. I always call myself an inept hunter. More animals have been saved by me pulling a trigger than ever killed. I am so bad. Or I could do anything. I could be a writer, or I could be an engineer. I would like to do videos. I would like just all sorts of stuff. And that's where I feel like when I'm jazzed at my most, I just picture the world as like endless opportunity. And I feel so bad for people that are just like stuck in a place doing something they don't like, because I've kind of been there. So what's been your favorite adventure of all your adventures? I don't know if you can narrow it down to one, but give me one that at least lands solidly in your top 5.
I think probably when we were in Alaska and we went fishing and it was so beautiful and wonderful, but there were these bears in the water with us, just like right by our boat, and they'd pop up and they'd have a fish in their mouth, and I would be like, should we move? And our guide was like, nah, totally fine. And it's like one of the, I think, fishing poles dropped, and he like got in the water and grabbed it, and he's like, they're fine.
Really?
Like, we're not
I guess as long as they're eating salmon and not humans.
like they have enough food. So that was cool. We have this, if you go to our Instagram, there's this picture of Evelyn, and she's just smiling, and right behind her is like a bear in the water. And it's like,
Oh, God.
so
And it's
epic
straight
and
up
wonderful.
wild. It wasn't like a place where they give you an encounter. It just happened to happen.
Yeah.
And
Nuts.
And there was
Yeah.
like a bunch of them. There's brown bears and black bears and
That's
Yeah, I think-
crazy.
Alaska was packed with a lot. When we started this trip, we kind of have bucket list moments that we want to have happen, and
Right.
one of those was going inside a glacier cave for me. And so we found this glacier, walked into the cave, and it's just, as you're walking in, it's kind of gray, dark. And I remember thinking, wow, the pictures, it looked a lot more blue as we
Right.
kept walking. And once we turned around and the light came in, the bluest blue ever. And it was really cool to be in something so old that was still melting and dripping
Right.
and
Still changing.
just, yeah, still
Was that in
changing.
Alaska?
That was also in Alaska.
We gotta
oh,
get
the
out of
giraffe thing. And
But yeah, in Texas, we haven't uploaded this video yet, but we went to it's a wildlife preserve. Their goal is to keep animals from being extinct. And so any animal that starts to be on the endangered list, they have thousands of acres, and they literally let these animals just be wild and free. And except they don't let, lions aren't in the same
Right.
place as like giraffe and whatever. But so we got to go through, and Evelyn loves any stuffed giraffe, anything. She'll just grab it and hold on to it. And so she got to feed wild giraffe just from her hand.
That is so.
And-
Don't they have like
And
just
it was just,
crazy long tongues?
Yeah.
It wrapped around her hand, and she got annoyed, and she started like hitting it away from her.
and it just came back and would like nudge her with its head, and it was licking her toes, and
That's
she
so
was
cool.
totally fine. And that was just really cool to see her and nature together, and
Mhm.
they
We'll
were
do-
just buddies.
Another fun thing, we'll do other things like we drove an army tank. We played airsoft with tanks. And so like Nellie was my guide, we had a driver, and I was manning the missile gun.
That
I don't
was
even
so
know
cool.
the proper term, but I shot this modded missile that they made at another tank, totally tagged it. It was fun. That
What?
was in Minnesota. So that was unreal.
Okay, well, that's on my bucket list. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? How did you
Drive
find that?
Yeah, driveatank.com. Yeah, we did a treasure for it. A guy found it, so he gets to do the whole experience as well.
Okay, so
But-
most of your treasures, are you now kind of linking up with businesses, and then you put an experience into the bottle? Is that what you guys would do mostly for treasures?
Yeah. And then, like a recent treasure, we haven't uploaded this one yet, but they're an outdoor clothing company, and so we just have some really fat gift cards for their stuff that we're kind of hiding actual money now, So that's,
Yeah, this is crazy too, because it's like, it's amazing how many different ways you guys have found to multiply the adventures. Like, you go on an adventure, you share it on YouTube, so we can watch it and kind of vicariously go through it,
uh-huh.
or we can go on it and try to find the bottle, and then the people that get it usually get something that sparks an additional adventure, and it's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then we'll share that too. Like one of our treasures was for a tiny house stay in Portland, Oregon. These really well done built tiny homes, and she just went a month ago. Her and her husband went and stayed at a little cabin and shared those pictures with us, and we reshared some of it. So
That's
yeah,
so cool.
it's really fun to see, and that's what motivates us to keep going.
I interviewed a lady who does. She's got a couple. One of her places is like the top 10 requested or liked B&B houses in all of Airbnb, but she does
Wow.
all these cool tiny houses, and she just did a giant potato in Idaho. So she used to work for like a potato place, and they would pull around this humongous giant ceramic potato to like, county fairs and like stuff like that. Anyway, they retired the old potato because they have like a new updated potato. So she's like, "Hey, can I have that potato?" They're like, "Sure." So she parked it out in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, and she made it into a place. But she's done like a hobbit hole, like a legit
Really?
looking hobbit hole up in Washington. It's incredible. It's like a year out to book the place, but it is so cool.
Where is it?
I'll say it's in Washington State.
Okay.
Okay, see, now that's my new thing to do. I freaking love Lord of the Rings. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, so my whole office is just all Lord of the Rings out.
By,
No, that's
by the way,
so
Mike,
awesome.
I held J.R.R. Tolkien's Bible, where he had notes jotted in the margins.
What?
It
It's
was-
tied into Lord of the Rings.
Where's this?
We were at Zion's Mercantile at the Riverwoods in Provo.
Yes, okay, I've heard about this guy. My brother's told me
Yeah,
about
the
this guy. I've
guy-
never met him.
Yeah, I don't know if he
Yeah,
still
that
has
guy.
that book, but it was a green, but kind of greenish cover Bible. That was
So I
That was
have. So I talked before we started recording about how my love for RVing started in New Zealand. So we lived in Australia for 3 years, and we went to New Zealand and did 2 trips there. We did South Island, North Island. We did 9 days each. And
when was this?
this was 2000 and end of 2015, November 2015, and April 2016.
That's so cool.
And so I mean, all this stuff like we hiked. This is these are rocks from Mount Doom. I probably shouldn't have been able to take these, but this is from where they filmed Mount Doom, and this is where they filmed. This is where they filmed Mordor. I took these rocks from where they filmed Mordor. So I have like all the GPS locations of all the Lord of the Rings places mapped out. I even have a scar on my shin. We tried to hike Mount Doom, me and my brother-in-law, and the weather turned on us really bad. So it was like you couldn't see. The wind was just ripping across the volcano, because it's just this volcano. So you're just hiking up, a 45-degree incline of volcanic scree for like. And we didn't know how close we were, and we were not equipped for the rain and the hike. So we probably were 2/3 the way up. And my brother-in-law was like, "Dude, I can't do this anymore. If one of us falls down or hits our head or something, no one's gonna come find us." And so I was like, "Fine." So we each took off our rings and we threw them. So there's someone's gonna find a couple One rings on the slopes of Mount Doom if they go up there. And I ate it going back down and landed straight on this, like exactly what I didn't want to have happen. I could have easily broken my leg, but I just smacked my shin on this rock, this volcanic rock, and it didn't bleed, but it was weird. It like put this big huge indent in my shin, and I was like, "Oh, please scar, please scar." And sure enough, I got this pretty gnarly scar on my shin. So I got to tell kids like, "Oh yeah, I got a scar from climbing Mount Doom. You like that?" And then just pull up the old pant leg.
After I
Show 'em
threw
the
my
scar.
ring.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually have a glow in the dark. I wear a glow in the dark One ring. It glows green for some reason. I don't know why they didn't make it glow red, but so yeah, when I'm trying to find my way to the toilet at night, I'll hold my ring out, and it will just glow in the night. But yeah, New Zealand was otherworldly.
That's
It
on
just
top of our list.
Doesn't make sense how beautiful it is. It's like you take the Rockies, and then also there's the beach there, and there's just, I mean, it's just the landscape is just so dramatic and so just jam packed. That's why I based my whole Techno Wizard series in New Zealand because we've done those 2 trips.
When's your third one coming out?
So I'm
Bryce is anxiously awaiting.
Good. I'm 63,000 words into the first draft of my third one, so it's gonna probably top out 100. I'm supposed to give it to my editor in June. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. So I'm hoping July. And then, so this is the deal with that. So that one I hope in July. In the meantime, I've actually written another book in a totally different series that's actually sitting with an agent. So she's trying to sell that one to publishers. It's this story about this kid from Texas who moves to Idaho. His name's Danny Doubleday, and he's in the 6th grade, and he lives every day twice. So the first day he lives a day, he gets to do whatever he wants. He goofs around, he mouths off to the teachers, he pulls pranks, he breaks his leg, and then he wakes up the next day and it all resets, and he gets another crack at the day, and then he moves on to the next day. So it's almost like he has a split personality because it's like he lives his life on 2 opposite sides of the pendulum swing. Because his first day he's just crazy, and the second day he's super reserved because he doesn't want to make a mistake because his actions stick. And then the next day he goes back like, okay, now I can goof off and whatever else. So anyway, it's this kid's adventures of trying to figure out this new school and make a friend, and he shares his secret with one of the friends, and they try to take these bullies down. And so he uses his Doubleday powers Because he can play tricks on people. Like he knows what they're gonna say. He knows information about them that they told him on the days that they don't remember, and so
Very cool. I'm excited.
it's a cool book. Because I've always I love Groundhog Day, but I always how many days of my life have I been like, oh, if I could just do this day over, I could do it so well. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna write about a story about a kid who can do that every day. So
That's cool.
it's
Very
pretty
cool.
So when you're out and about, do you read a lot? Do you watch a lot of movies? What do you do for entertainment other than your day job, which seems to be entertainment in and of itself?
So we do not have TV in here.
Yeah.
So if we want to watch something, I feel like once every 2-3 weeks, watch like a Netflix episode of The Office or something.
Except last night, I with Endgame coming out with Marvel.
Yes.
Or it's out.
I'm asleep. I did not know this till this morning.
Yeah, I was just gonna check to be like, okay, because we knew it was gonna rain here today, and we haven't gone to the movie theater in almost 2 years.
Wow.
Because last time we went, Nellie started having contractions, and then Ava was born, and we just.
There you go.
But I guess so, almost a year and a half. But last night I was just looking up a little bit to be like, okay, how much does Nellie need to see before we go see Endgame? Because she's missed a few movies.
Right.
And then I just decided to watch Captain America because it'd been forever. So I just skipped through parts of it. But
Yeah, no idea. He's like, yeah, I watched Captain America last night. I'm like, what?
Shame on you, Bryce. What have you done? I went
fine.
and saw Endgame last night.
is it good?
It's so stinking good. I have told people.
See, I think
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything. I am committed to no spoilers. Like, it was. In fact, most of it, like online, I put like, I've seen Endgame. I'm not even going to tell you if I like it. If you want to know more, private message me because I'm not going to ruin anything. So we went opening night. I'm taking my kids on Saturday. Me and my wife went. The kids didn't go. Me and my wife went. But it was an awesome atmosphere because it was like all the cosplayers were out in the front of the movie theater.
Awesome.
People were dressed up in like Spider-Man costume. Guy sitting behind me was in a full Deadpool costume. The whole movie, like he wore the mask the whole movie.
wow,
It was
dedication.
crazy. So it was just the right energy. I've been anticipating this movie my entire life, and I just love the energy. Like people were hooping and hollering and like clapping their hands and like it was just so cool. It was such a cool experience.
I love that.
This is what's
too.
going to happen today. We're going to go to movie theaters. Bryce is going to go into the movie theater and watch it.
Nah, we'll
There's like
wait.
no way we could take
We'll
it.
wait till we have a
So
babysitter. It'll be hard, but
so
we'll do it.
good. I just
So,
I love telling stories. When I see stories like that, I come out of it and go, I need to tell stories because I love the impact that I see. I mean, the impact of this is incredible on a global scale, but even on a personal scale to me, like every once in a while I'll come across a movie that just like really grabs me, and I'm just like, I gotta tell stories. I gotta figure out how to do this for other people. Kind of like sharing adventures with other people. I like some of those adventures can be mental, I guess, and that's what I want. I want people to go on those adventures, and the second you go on a really, really good one, you want someone to go on it with you, or you want someone to go on it by themselves, and you want them to share it. So
true.
That's why I love. Yeah, that's a big motive for why we're doing this. Because as you're talking about people making the step of quitting a job, as you know, is really difficult.
Yeah.
I just figured it seems like as long as you have some level of adventure that you're planning, you're eventually going to be the person that you want to be. Because when you're on these adventures, you have time to really think like, what do I want out of this life? And then you'll make those necessary changes moving forward. So we're seeing more of that from people.
Like it's a cliche to say it, but it's so true. When I stop and think like, dude, you only got one life to live.
Yep.
And it can be, with my dad, he finally passed away on his third independent form of cancer. Like it wasn't the same cancer coming back. He beat testicular cancer. He beat lymphoma. That one was supposed to take him out. That one was like, you're gone, Doug. You're not coming back.
Yeah.
This is terminal. And it like a Lifetime movie like magically disappeared. It was crazy. So we thought he's over the hump. It's taken its toll, but he's over the hump. And then the third form of cancer popped up, and I was like, my dad had 3 independent, 2 of them rare forms of cancer. I'm like, I could be gone next year.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I've got to at least. Yes, I have responsibilities to provide for my family, and I'm doing that still. But I was like, what my family wants most as far as being provided for is just me. Which is, again, cliche to say it, but like I have understood it at a different level now than I understood it before.
That's true.
It's just crazy because and then you have all these fulfilling experiences, and you're just like, oh, life can be more fun. There is more to life. There can be more to life, and the only person that makes the decision is me, whether I do it or not. It's
And the thing
crazy.
is, it doesn't have to be anything epic or crazy. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to be in a RV for 50 states. You don't have to fly across the country. Like, really, it's just like within your own backyard, even. Like
Like you're saying, what they want most is you
Right.
and time with. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's big thing. He said quality time was being there to wipe your kid's nose. Right? It's not necessarily doing something crazy. It's just being there. And that was the hardest part for me that was my dad's hallmark. Because he worked hard, but you could set your watch to when he walked, because he walked to and from work to BYU every day. You could set your watch to when he turned on a quarter. He was there. He was a constant. He was like the mountains, the Timpanogos was to the north, and my dad was coming home at 5:15 or whatever, and it was just a constant. He was always there, and then when he all of a sudden wasn't, it was so jarring, and so, yeah, I don't know. I'm so appreciative of that change in context for me. So even if I go back to kind of corporate world, my context is totally different.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that I know now that I can at any given time go, yeah, I'm done,
Yeah.
and then just go do what I want,
It's like a Danny Doubleday. You're going back again to do it better this time.
Right, exactly. That's a good point. And it's like, I think it's crazy because you could go back and do the same thing, but if your mindset's different, everything's different. Because I'll meet people in the refinery who feel like they're trapped, and they're people that like couldn't quit because they got a bunch of kids and they're got their roots down to Montana, so they feel like they can't go anywhere, and they've got to stay here, and they've got to stay at this job because they don't feel like they can get another job. And when you feel like you're trapped, that is a personal hell, and
Self-care.
you see it on people's face. And just the fact that if I went back and did the same things, even the same hours, which I wouldn't allow myself to do, even the same hours, just knowing that at any given moment, if I want to pull up the stakes on this thing, I can do it. It just changes everything. So you said you go to a state and you have something that kind of excites you and something that you're afraid of. What are some of the things you've been most afraid of that you've had to do?
I gotta think about this.
It's like a continual fear factor you guys are living in.
So if it's anything, so if I have to get in either cold water or water that I can't see clearly in, like we jumped in the, what's it called?
Devil's Punch Bowl in Colorado, or what?
Yeah, well and that water was
It was
the
so cold.
coldest water I've ever been in my
I
life.
had to put on my best show to act calm after that. If she was going after me, it was like,
Like, I could not breathe. My lungs were like shut down. That, and then we jumped in New York. We went jet skiing, and then we jumped in the
oh, which we
Hudson
shouldn't
River.
have done that. Yeah, that river's nasty.
It is nasty, and you can't.
It's just gross.
And
Just,
you can't
yeah.
see. You know, there's bodies in there.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's just some like
Yeah.
dead mafia guy floating by.
Yeah, and I had to like swim back as fast as I could because like I was hyperventilating. So that I think was hard for me, but I did it, and I'm glad I did. And then I think for you, heights are more like sketchy. They sketch you out more than
Yeah, if I'm harnessed in, I can do whatever. But
Right.
if it's sketchy harnessing, I mean that's like everybody. But yeah, heights don't faze Nelly at all. But I understand gravity, So
Right.
It's just funny how we do different experiences, and
so
either I'm uneasy or you're uneasy, or
yeah, we haven't gone bungee jumping or skydiving on this trip yet, and I thought we were going to. But having Evelyn has changed it a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I love the adrenaline, but it's just like, yeah,
we don't want
I'm
to have a
working over
single
that
parent
part.
just
Yeah,
because one
we're
of-
doing this for her,
Right.
and then we die in the process. So
It's funny. I was
But,
talking to my brother, who's immediately older than me. This was a couple years ago, and I was like, Steve, my desire to do things where if I make one mistake, I'm dead, has dropped precipitously over the last 5-6 years. It's like I used to do stuff like that all the time, where it's like, if you screw this up, you're dead. All right, we'll give it a shot. But like, I just don't. I need way more degrees of separation between me and death than one
so
mistake.
weird how quickly that changes
Uh-huh.
once
It
you
is
have a
weird.
kid. Like I had no fear of like anything. I feel like I've been skydiving. I've been like thrown up into the air by like, man, I've just done it all. But now I'm like, nope.
No.
Yeah.
Get in the water with a dolphin? Nope.
No, that
But-
dolphin can turn on you.
Yeah. But another fun one, we did this natural water slide in Yosemite, and I don't know why that
Oh, that was
sketched
hilarious.
me out
Oh
so
yeah,
much,
that was hilarious.
but it was
Like-
what 100 feet, 150 feet lengthwise, and it was natural, and like there's parts that would, but it only dropped like 6 feet, but it'd be sharp,
Right.
and then
Oh,
something
God.
else, and I wasn't worried I was gonna die or anything, but I remember thinking, this is our first state, I'm gonna break an arm, and then I'm gonna have
Your
like
very first
7.
adventure. Get out
Yeah.
there and live life. I'm sidelined.
So I didn't break an arm, but in the second state I broke my toe kiteboarding.
Really?
So yeah, which is dumb, but that I'm fine now. But
It was hilarious though. He could not. He kept like lifting his feet up and putting them back down. And we're
on
like,
that
"Just
water
go!"
slide,
And
yeah, I
he's
wouldn't
like-
let myself get full momentum.
It was hilarious.
It's
It
like
was
the little
so-
kids going on the slides with their hands out, like.
Exactly. In fact, one time I went to and I popped. We had these big swan inner tubes, and I grabbed on so fiercely that I popped the right wing of it. Also, because it probably hit the sharp rock I was worried
Oh
about.
my gosh. We were
But it-
all fine. The rest of
Yeah, it
us
was,
were fine.
it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
It's funny because so when I was in New Zealand, the second time we went, I actually flew down my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law is like a full-time seminary teacher, and he's only a couple years older than me, and he was a bishop in Utah. And I just felt like, man, this guy's got a lot of stress in his life. He's not having a lot of fun. I said he needs a break, and we were kind of swimming in money when we lived down in Australia because you're an expat, you get treated nice. And so I was like, you know what? Let's fly Garrett down as like a total fifth wheel. Let's just fly him down. If my kids love Uncle Garrett, we'll have another parent that doesn't have to like worry about their kids. He can help us out with ours. I was like, it'd be great. So the second time we went to New Zealand, it was my family and randomly Uncle Garrett kind of came down, right? So we flew him down, and so he was in the RV with us, which was great. It was like a great way to travel. Anyway, so we're I've got the whole kind of trip mapped out. But what I love about RVs is if you're like, oh, we really like this place, you can stay a little bit longer. You can make it up in the evenings if you want to drive to your next destination. I love it. The weather changes, you can adapt. So I felt like I'd studied. We had a couple points we needed to hit, but I studied it enough that I was like, you know what, we're a little ahead of schedule. It's like there's a waterfall 45 minutes from here. Let's duck under this waterfall. So anyway, we're doing all these things, and we were going down this canyon, and my brother-in-law is not afraid of heights. He's skydived and done the whole thing. And he was like, dude, let's go bungee jumping. And I'm not like crazy, like afraid of heights, but I don't like them, right? And I was like, sure, we're in New Zealand. I think they invented bungee jumping down here or something. And so I was like, let's go, let's do it. And I
They
just
got bungee jumping down
didn't
there.
even think about it. Like didn't think twice about it. And then as I'm driving up, it's called Gravity Canyon. And it was also a Lord of the Rings film location, which is why I was like, oh, we'll kill two birds with one stone. So as we're driving up this canyon, and I'm starting to see the drop-offs, I'm like, what am I doing? But I didn't second-guess myself until like 5 minutes to when we were there. And I've got a bad back, so I didn't bungee jump, but I did. They basically put you in a harness. You're basically it's like a swing. So you drop like, I don't know, something like 200 feet, and then it's like kind of this gentle arc that it just and then takes you out. I can't believe I did it. But it was weird. It's one of these things you just committed to it. But again, it's like,
Yep.
I know. If you would have told me 3 days before you're going to do this, I would have been like, no, I'm not. But I totally did it. And it was crazy. And it was awesome. And it's funny, like, when he does stuff like bungee jumping or stuff like that, when the adrenaline hits him, the shock hits him, he can't scream. So he does it in silent. So it's like, they're like, okay, we're going to give you a countdown. And then they don't, they always pull a thing before that you think you're going to. So like he pulls it and he just doesn't say anything. You think like there's supposed to be a scream watching this guy fall down this like ravine, and it's just like, and then finally at the end it's like, "Ah!" Like a scream finally like catches up. Whereas me, I'm like, mother, like the second it drops, and I'm screaming like crazy. But it's just like I think Will Smith says, it's like every good thing in your life is just on the other side of fear.
Yep.
And it's so true. One of the lines in my book is some fear keeps you alive and some fear keeps you from living. And so you've got to recognize the difference between the two. But I think we just put so much behind this is keeping me alive. And it's like,
Yep.
it's keeping you alive. It's keeping you living the same way you're living. It's keeping your current life alive. I'll grant you that. But there's so much more stuff on the other side of it.
Mhm.
And it's like you said, it's just that one thing to like get you to say yes, and then like once you feel that, you like want more of it, or you're more
Right.
motivated, or whatever it is. You need to make that like change to like go a different direction.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, what are you saying yes to in life, and what are you saying no to? And we think we're not saying yes to things, but by not doing something, you're saying yes to a certain kind of life, and you're
Yeah.
saying no to others. And so even not making a decision is making a decision, which is kind of a scary thought, but it's a good thought because it gets you out doing stuff.
I think the scariest part is standing still, like saying not yes or not no. You're just going like this,
Right.
which is like the most boring way, unless you just don't progress. You just to live life.
Ugh.
That's how I feel about it.
So
Well.
you're going to do all 50 states, and then what?
Yeah, New Zealand is sounding so not like awesome as you're talking about it. But
Yeah.
we did a lot of international trips randomly before the 50 states and
Like
hit
we're going to
treasures all
actually
over.
Europe in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we are going to
Ooh,
Europe. In
where are you going to Europe?
We're going to France.
So
So
we're actually taking my parents because it's like my parents' dream.
and here's where this is
Oh,
cool.
so cool.
Go ahead.
It translates over. Like once we started doing all these adventures, Nellie's mom actually, it's contagious, and she
Right.
had saved this magazine cover from National Geographic. It's 30 years old, of a tree in Thailand that she wanted to go to, and so we went with her to not Thailand, to
But it was
Cambodia.
like once we started living our life, she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to Cambodia."
Let's do this.
Right,
let's
it's
do this.
possible.
Like that dream is now possible. So then we took her,
And now her dad's dream has always been to see Normandy, and so we're
and
gonna
my
go to-
dad's the same as your dad. Like, gotta get a job, you gotta work, you gotta provide
Right.
for your family. He's never been out of like.
His vacations have always been a cruise, and that's it.
Yep.
That's what he likes doing. But
But this is like so out of his box. But now he's like, yeah, we surprised him for Christmas, and he's like, yeah, and he's getting so excited.
uh
And then we learned, like, with all this planning of France, that, like, my mom's dad actually was in the Battle of the Bulge in Normandy. And, like, all this stuff
Wow.
is coming to that would have
Yeah.
never came to light, if we hadn't, like, just kept doing the things we wanted to do. It's, like, so cool.
and we thought we'd be finished with the 50 states by now, and then go to Europe. And we weren't gonna fly back. We were gonna do adventures in Europe for as long as we could get visas for,
Yeah.
and then hide treasures there. But we're not finished with the 50 yet, so we're gonna come back, finish the 50, and then
Hashtag jerky problems.
yeah.
We gotta go back from Europe and then go back later.
Oh, that sounds bad.
That's the thing, like, we gotta realize.
But that should be an inspiring problem. That's the thing, is like, it doesn't sound bad. That's like, I want that problem. People should want that problem.
And here's the thing I want everybody listening to this to know is that we're not rich kids. We're not, like,
Yeah.
our parents didn't give us money. We've hustled hard, and we've worked, and we're still not super wealthy or anything, but we plan, we save, we watch for cheap flights. We just hustle to make it work for us the way we want it to work. And if it's not going a certain way, we'll find a different way. Like, we work really hard. And so that's the thing I want people to know, because I feel like we live in this world that's so immediate. Like, Wi-Fi is immediate.
Right.
This is immediate. We get immediate answers nowadays. And if we don't have that, then it's like almost impossible. But it's like, plan for a year out, plan for 2 years out, have a goal, look forward to it, build for it. Like, everything's possible. It doesn't mean you have to go next week, but if you have a dream and a goal, like, just work hard, save your money, even if it's a little bit at a time, or whatever it is, like, it's totally achievable. It just might take longer than you want, but it's there if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I think there's 2 points that reminds me of. So one is like always having something to look forward to. I love that you both said
Yes.
that, because that is like so key. I talk to my wife about this all the time. Like, we'll be in a spot and she's like, "Yeah, we need to plan something." She'll sense it. So it's like, we need to plan something. I don't care what it is, and it could be like something little in a couple of weeks, or it could be something big in a couple of months. But like, having something to look forward to is like one of the keys to happiness in life. I am convinced of that fact. That is absolutely, And then you guys do it ad nauseum, but like, whatever it is, it can be something small, it can be something big, it could be a small hike, it could be a crazy huge vacation. But having something to look forward to it just paints life in a different hue that is much more attractive to look at than if you always have something going forward.
You have something to talk about too, or just it adds more reason to what you're doing.
Like, don't you have those memories as a kid that you look back on and you're like, that was such a fun vacation with my family?
And it was simple, probably.
And it was, probably so simple, but it was like one of the things you remember most.
Right. I think it's just focal points that bring people together. It's kind of what they are. Like we're
Yeah.
all going to get together. We're going to get on the same page. We're all going to be kind of doing the same thing. We all do different stuff. My kids are in school. I got my day job. My wife's got her things. But it's like, okay, guys, here's a moment, either this weekend on a hike or in a couple of months, somewhere else, where we're all going to leave our individual stuff and we're going to do our together stuff.
Yep.
Yep,
And,
I love it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I was talking to my another buddy. He's a doctor. One of the most fantastic families you'll ever meet. This lives a couple houses down from me, and he's like, if you spend money on stuff, it doesn't necessarily translate to happiness. But spending money on experiences, statistically, even more translates to happiness in life.
Love it.
So they're always doing stuff like they do this weird thing where they have like one of the parents takes one of the kids like once a year to a place. So they'll be like to like Thailand or something, and it's do like a mission thing in Ecuador, or like building a school or something.
We want to do that with our kids.
Yeah, we do.
That's I think so important.
So you back and forth between Europe. So it's going to be like Jurgys Europe style next, or and then you're just going to kind of go around different countries in Europe for as long as you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we might even just do different countries.
Yeah, I went to the New York Times Travel Expo in January and met with a lot of tourism boards of different countries.
Yeah.
And we just got an email, I think I told you this, from, I think it was Japan, wanting to host, like, their tourism board reach out and have us come out there. So I think we'll have, like, a home base, and then if it's this one on wheels or what, we don't know, but then have something, an epic kind of adventure. We're trying to decide how often, because now's a good time to go. Evelyn's still just not 14 months. But then when baby number 2 comes, we'll still do these adventures but have a home base for when we need to. Yeah, we're filling it out. But I love the RV in New Zealand too.
Dude, and I've never seen a place that's more set up for RVing than New Zealand. Like
really?
There's dump stations everywhere. There's signage everywhere for like RV parks and dump stations, and like it's just like they know that's how people do it. Yeah.
Okay.
They're big RV people. Them and the Australians.
We're getting practice in the States.
No, but really right now, you're like the way you've been talking about it, I really just want to like plan a trip to New Zealand. Like I really might go look at flights after this.
If you want to know any of I can give you the GPS markers to all the Lord of the Rings film locations.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've got a PowerPoint presentation that's got them on. Like I'll hook you guys up.
Yeah.
Because we actually printed out like scenes from the movie. The second time we went, I was a lot more prepared. I printed out scenes from the movie, so we would walk up to a point. I would flip open my book. I would show my kids the scene. I'm like, okay, what angle is it? And we like all walk around, like it's right there. And then we kind of get down and we take the shot. So we've like, recreated 100 shots from the movies at the exact same angle. Yeah.
Mike, I just need to know right now. If we go to New Zealand, are you just gonna like appear?
Yes,
you're just gonna
I will
with
be
your
there.
book, and you'd be like, okay, guys.
Oh, there's this lady who owns this super cool like farm. It's got the weirdest like rock formations and crazy growing trees. She's close to Hobbiton, but they filmed a bunch of scenes in The Hobbit at her little farm. And it's weird because some people are like, I know you filmed Lord of the Rings here, but my gates are locked, go away, I don't want any tourists. Other people are like, you filmed a bunch of scenes from Lord of the Rings here, this is now what we do. We do tours, and we built a little thing, and you do pictures, and there's a lady who's just totally owned it, and just has a magical place that you can go to. It's so awesome. And she's giving this tour, and I'm just like, what a cool little life. Everyone that comes to her is happy to be there.
Yeah.
And is like they're probably like eating out of her hand whenever she gives her spiel. That's kind of how it is with school visits. Even though I've done the same presentation 100 times, and I'm constantly kind of tweaking it, I love delivering it. I love seeing the reaction of the kids. I love sort of spreading that because again, I said like surround yourself with awesomeness is your key. Find what you're passionate about. Feed it awesomeness. Let it grow. And then I was like, the formula is this, kids: learn, share, create, inspire. Because then when you inspire, what other people do is they learn, and then they want to create, and then they share and they inspire. And I was like, Miss America used to say, I wish for world peace. People are like, yeah, whatever. I was like, you can get it. You get it by creating cool stuff.
Yep.
That's how you get it.
Yeah, because it inspires change in
Right.
someone else's. Yep.
And
I love that.
they just can like, I'm gonna leave doing my mundane whatever garbage, and I'm gonna go out and live life a
Yeah.
little bit. But yeah, RVing for us has just been it's the closest I can get my wife to camping, and she needs to have I'll tell you. So I want to know who usually drives the RV. Do you split it? He does. Bryce does.
Guy.
Nellie's driven it once across a bridge while I was getting a drone shot, and she actually, which I did this too when I first started driving it. She was like, no, I'm not in the right. I need to get in the right lane, and I'm like, no, you are. She's like, no, I'm in the.
It throws me off so bad. I can't drive unless it's like one of the smaller motorhomes where it's like the front is more like a car. I could do it.
C class.
This is like,
C-class.
I mean, this is huge. The like windshield is like, I don't know, 12 feet. So like,
It's a beautiful view.
you're not 12 feet.
That's
but
our TV.
So I need to know because especially this last trip that we did in Utah, when you get crosswinds driving an RV, it's like the most nerve-wracking thing on planet Earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really, no.
Yeah, I had a really terrifying moment once. Like the tires squeaked with the wind that came. I was just going straight, and it was like moved us a little bit, and it was just
It's
intense prayers in those moments.
Yeah, because I would look at the map and I'd be like, if there's like switchback trails. Originally, before I ever drove one in New Zealand, I'm like, oh, that's going to be scary because I'm driving a big thing and it's small roads. Those don't scare me at all anymore because I'm going slow. What scares me is when I get an open straight shot and it's like a plane and I'm like, there's going to be friggin' crosswinds here. And you're driving and the little cars don't even notice it, right? So they're just going by you and you're like, I can't make a millimeter of a mistake or my whole family is dead. It's like, and I was like, as I was driving, I hadn't even shared this with my wife. She always listens to my podcast, so she'll hear this. But I was like, this is a great analogy for sometimes how I feel as a father. My kids are in the back, they're playing the Switch, they're watching movies, they're totally oblivious to what's going on. My wife's listening to some audiobook, and I'm here like life and death, like trying to hold it together, driving us. And my kid's like, yeah, we almost done. Oh, I'm out of snacks, Dad. I'm just like, shut up! I'm trying to keep our family alive. And it's like, sometimes that's how I feel as a dad. You go to work, you're working crazy, you got the weight of the world on your shoulders, you come home, the kid's like, my sister threw something at me. I was like, I'm trying to keep this family together. I don't care about your problem. I'm driving this RV in 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Anyway, it was like, I remember I would be driving and I would stop and be like, my forearms are sore from trying to keep this friggin' thing straight.
Mental energy is just gone after that too, because you're just so focused and intense. Yep.
I'm driving a house down a freeway. What am I doing?
With everything you care about, right there.
I know. It's crazy. I'm glad it wasn't just me. I'm shocked that I don't find just RVs just careened off the side of the road at all stops. Like some crazy tourist from some other destination. But
yeah, it's this fine balance because I feel the same way, but then also we're like, yes, every family should do this.
Right,
because it's so amazing. But
it's
there
true.
is that.
But that's just, as we said, like fear could stop me from doing that. I could be like, yeah, I don't want to ever do it again.
We almost did. When we bought this RV, the first time Bryce ever drove it was off the lot. He pulled it in front of the house.
Before then.
And like compared to all the other RVs, it looked pretty small. But when it was in front of our home, which we ran in, like, you've seen the James's, but it's like lined with trees.
It was gonna be this magical moment. Like I was gonna stop, James and other people would see it. Nellie would come out and see the home. But then right when I turned down that street, I clipped a tree branch, and I was already in the middle of the road. So I was like, this is not good.
The road's way too narrow.
2 cars are behind me, so I just call her on speakerphone. She's like, hey, what's up? Hey, will you come out here? Hurry, get in the RV.
I'm like running out with our child. And then Bryce goes to a parking lot, and we just lay in the back, and we're like, is it too late to return this?
Yeah, we really thought.
Think we could? We were like seriously a second like guessing ourselves.
Is there free returns on the RV? Did you keep the receipt, Bryce? Tell me you kept the receipt for the RV.
Yeah.
But we also, that's one thing too, once we finish, we've had this plan, we're making a documentary from the whole experience.
Oh, sweet.
And we've learned some really
of
hard lessons during it as well, and but good lessons, and things that I think even apply to someone that will never quit their job and get in an RV. And so I'm excited. We're working with a production company on that also, and so who knows, maybe when that's done, we don't know. I don't even know how to go about it with Netflix or someone picking it up, but it'll kind of encapsulate. It won't be just about us, but about this, a lot of these ideas we're talking about.
That's so awesome. Like I could not wait to watch that and to to kind of live vicariously through you guys. Because even if people don't, this is where I'm at, is even if people don't do what you do, I'm glad that there are people doing what you do. Right? Like, I'm glad that people are taking advantage of that. And this is a crazy, weird parallel. I haven't brought this up in a couple episodes, but for like a couple of weeks I was fascinated by this. I am glad when people do things that I think are impossible. So the example was this kid solves 3 Rubik's Cubes as he juggles them. Again, I say that and you're like, that is impossible. That's impossible. Maybe someone an elf who lives to be 1,000 years old, he practices every day. And I was like, no, a 10-year-old Japanese kid can apparently do it. And he's solving it as he juggles it. So he's catching it and twisting it. Not just twisting it, but how he needs to. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. And my life, I don't have barriers in my life, like Rubik's Cube barriers in my life, right? There's not like things I haven't accomplished because of my ability to not comprehend Rubik's Cubes. Rubik's Cubes have nothing to do with me accomplishing things. But the fact that I was confident that someone couldn't do this, and they did it, makes me reevaluate my junk in my life.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have Rubik's Cube related junk, the fact that a kid did something with a Rubik's Cube that was impossible, I go, oh geez, maybe some stuff in my life isn't so impossible. So when I look at you guys, I think of like that kind of life is an impossibility. People don't live like that. They don't do stuff like that. It's like, no, they do, and they're not living on some other side of the planet. They were neighbors to my brother. They're that close to me, and then I stop and go, wow, maybe I need to start reevaluating some things. Maybe some things aren't a possibility. Maybe I can go on more adventures. Maybe you can. Just like I scraped time to write this book, I could scrape time to go on more adventures. 30 minutes on a Saturday. We have the rims right out of my window. The rims of Billings, they're so cool. I've lived here for 2 years. They're literally, I could run 2 minutes and touch the rims. Guess how many times I've been hiking on the rims? 0 in 2 years. Actually, I dressed up as Gandalf once in the snow on top of the rims for a video. So one time I have hiked around, but I've never done it. I can go hide treasures in the rims. I could easily.
We're coming over to your house, by the way.
Stop! If I see this big, huge drive, the Jurgys are here. Yeah, I would love to go hide. I'll go hide Techno Lizard treasures in the rims and have kids find them in the rims, and then some kid will hike and injure himself, but then I'll have a lawsuit on my hands. Have you guys ever thought about that, like the legal?
We've talked with James about that a little bit.
Good.
We always say in our videos, like, come with another person, come at your own risk, be safe.
Right.
And we put in the description of our videos now a little disclosure about it, because we, in the moment, we're excited about where we hide it, and then after we're like, like even James.
Or like the weather changing, or people going when it's snowing, or like,
right.
Yeah.
you just don't know.
Or what if a buffalo comes running out and charges over someone? We need to at least be able to say, like, here's why we felt it was safe to hide it here, and you find this at your own risk.
I can just see some guy in the hospital like, the Jurgy said the bears wouldn't eat us.
The bears are really nice out here.
That is a fear. We don't want to go viral in that way.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes our treasures are easier to find just because of where we are.
Yeah. So I guess I would get to the point where I'm like, oh, I gotta make this harder. People are finding these too easy. I gotta make this harder. I gotta put it in some cool, obscure, like.
Some treasures are like that.
Yeah, we have a few things that we haven't uploaded.
Oh, we do have one treasure that we're gonna hide in an epic place. But the one in Alaska was pretty epic.
Yeah, we hit it on this random, like, by a random glacier, thinking, like, we had to fly to get to that spot. But someone went and found it. They took a side-by-side, drove all the way. Yeah, they were caked in mud after when they showed the picture.
Wow.
That was for a free RV for a week with Cruise America. That was a cool one. But, we do have... I think that's true. Yeah, some really fun ones. And then... but also, we'll have more difficult clues that even are out now that people don't realize are clues.
Oh,
in some
little Easter eggs. So cool.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. If I could ask one favor, because if you guys did, I got the chills as I just thought about this. If you guys hid treasures at the film sites of like the Lord of the Rings film locations, that would be so awesome. Like
What should we
we've left
hide?
a treasure in where they filmed Isengard, or where they filmed, Beorn's house, or where they did like the Oliphants came through, or
That's we'll have to hide.
I'm
We'll have
watching
to
all the Lord of the Rings movies tonight.
when we
That's
do
good.
hide this treasure, we'll have to do. Oh, she's awake. We'll have to do
He's making a break for it.
incorporate with your books when we
Sweet.
do.
I will. Oh, that'd be because actually I would have locations in my in my books. No way! Oh, that would be
That
so
would be
cool.
cool.
I was like, why hasn't New Zealand put little? Because sometimes you go out in the middle of nowhere, and this will be like some film location. I was like, they couldn't have put like a little post with like just a
True.
little sign like this is where they filmed this. Like that would be awesome, and they never did it. But this, in a way, is kind of
Yeah. We could do it.
that
We'll
would
do it.
be that would be like a life goal. That would be like a huge bucket list item. That's a cool idea. See, I get past like I think about that. That's cool every way I look at that. Every way I examine that, that's a cool idea. Sweet. Okay. Well, if you guys go to New Zealand, then I'm definitely your man. We'll have to stay in
When's the
touch.
best time? When's the best time of year to go?
So we went in because the seasons are opposite, right? Because it's Southern Hemisphere. But we went in November and we went in April, and that is kind of just on the cusp of both the season. So it's one is like just getting out of high season and one is just getting into high season. So for us that worked awesome because it wasn't super busy. But this is the crazy thing about New Zealand is even though some tourists show up at a lot of the tourist destinations, a lot of the places we wanted to go were the Lord of the Rings film locations. They're out in the middle of nowhere. Some of them were like in Wellington and around the town, and you can go tours and they take you around. But a lot of them were out in the middle of nowhere. So I felt like I had the island to myself. It was, especially the South Island, it was so cool. I could drive around. I'm like, we're in an RV. We're staying outside of cities. We never go into the cities. And because I hate driving an RV in a city, as you probably all know. It's like my least favorite thing on planet Earth. But it's like, it was so cool because I just felt like it was this like intimate experience. It wasn't like you go to you go to the Grand Canyon and you can't find a place to park.
Yep.
When I was in New Zealand, at least when we were there in November and in April, I just felt like I had the whole island to myself. It was so cool.
Maybe this November, Nels. She just gave me a thumbs up. Evelyn's going back to sleep.
But yeah, I'll hook you guys up with every location thing you guys ever wanted.
Sweet.
From Lord of the Rings, and from my book, I guess too.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I do is I actually map out on Google Maps. I have my whole book mapped out on Google Maps. So some of those locations I share in the maps in the front of my books, but other ones I don't, like the paths that they take to places. I wrote the whole thing, so I know exactly where stuff happens in New Zealand, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, in a little way, I'm trying to at least mentally go on these adventures and crazy things. And I had this kid. This is totally random, but I had this kid. So I went to a school visit yesterday, and a bunch of kids were coming and they were handing me like order forms to buy books, or they were just coming and shaking my hand and asking me stuff. And this little kid came up. He was wearing this image is ingrained in my brain forever. This little like red flannel shirt, and he had kind of like a mop of scraggly brown hair. And he looked at me. He's like, Mr. Thayer, I don't have any money to buy your book because my family doesn't have a lot of money. And I could see like the tears start welling up in his eyes. And I like just about grabbed a book and just handed it to him, but I couldn't do it in front of like 300 kids. All chaos would break loose. And he's like, but I really want to read. I was like, dude, I have donated a copy to your school's library. I've got copies in Billings Public Library. And then he's like, oh, okay. I was like, if you like book one, I will bring a copy of book two and give it to your library. I was like, I want you to be able to read this book. And he's just like, okay. And then walked away. I was like, just being able to share something, take something from my brain and share something that like at least means, will bring a kid to tears. That's so cool.
And it's going to affect how he makes decisions in the future and the way he thinks. Like even when you interject those quotes from his dad, like my dad always said this. I don't know if those are things that actually come from your dad.
About 2/3 of them were.
Okay.
Yeah.
That really, I was surprised with how much I dove into the books, but that really hit me too because my dad's battling cancer right now, and it's just like just realizing the value of words that he's said to me, and like in every way, the book, it's good.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's what I tell kids is your creations is the way you make your mark on life. If you can spend, I said you can spend three things. You can spend your spare time in 3 different ways. You can entertain yourself, which is like a candy. It's good in the moment, but has no lasting value. You can learn something, and there's never been a better time to do that because the whole world of information is at our fingertips. Or you can create something. You can take that knowledge and you can will something into existence. And it's like, if you create something, that's how you leave your mark in the world.
Yep.
You can spend your whole life watching Netflix, and at the end of your life, you have nothing to show for it. And when you die, everyone will forget you. As soon as the people that know you are gone, you're basically erased from existence, which is a horrifying thought. Then I'm thinking of like,
dude, that's so motivating.
yeah, it is, and it's like if you create something, that's the only, religious leanings aside, the only way to make yourself immortal is to create things, and that's a family, that's anything. I try to do it through books. You guys are doing it through videos and through experiences, and like, man, the impact you guys have had on people. Like you're creating things in other people's lives.
Yeah.
Right? And if they can trace that all back to the Jurgys, then like, holy crap, you guys have created a lot of awesomeness all over the world. Like your sphere of influence is massive, which is basically like the best thing you could do with your life, which is so cool. So I've already taken up an hour and a half of your time. But
thank you.
I am so glad that we were able to sit down and have this conversation finally. I know you guys have been constantly on the move, which is great. That makes the Jurgys the Jurgys. But let's definitely stay in touch wherever you go. And the one thing we never touched on, we'll touch on this real quick, is with all your adventures and everything, you guys have done some positive, what I will call positive pranks on each other.
Oh yes,
In the
we haven't
past.
touched on that.
So tell me about that. Like, where do those start? How do those fit in to the whole like do your adventures thing? Because I think the coolest one is when you filled the basement full of puppies, which was pretty epic.
Yeah, following the similar desire that we had when we started this channel was to break up the norm and get people to adventure more, to have exciting things. I realized with a lot of the comments, there's a lot of people that they can't. They still have these mental blocks of, oh, well, my life's too busy, so or almost it's like, I either have to go from 0 to 60,
Right.
like we have this epic adventure, can't do a little thing. And so that was kind of some motivation. Also, it's just naturally who I am and Nelly. We loved surprising each other randomly anyway. And so I thought it'd be fun to share some of this on here to show people like, hey, this is kind of like an adventure. It just kind of mixes up the mundane.
Right.
And gives you something to be excited about and to talk about. And so the first one, we filled our van with puppies. We had an old school green van that
it was pretty fast. It was like the A-Team van.
Yeah. And like the street that it was on, I'm just thankful HOA was cool with us leaving it there and everything. But we filled it with grass and puppies and took it to college campuses before students took their finals to just play with puppies. And it was the whole typical like, hey, I got puppies in the van. Like
Hey, kid, you got candy over here. I got puppies too. Don't come in my head.
Yeah, and that was fun. And then I just wanted to surprise Nelly some more. So she'd always wanted a piano, and I thought we could never get a piano until we were more established. And then found a really good deal, surprised her with that. That resonated really well. And yeah, then the puppies. That was really fun. And that was probably one of the easiest videos we've ever done. I literally just found an organization that took in forfeiture pets, helped them to find homes. Nelly was at work. I talked to her boss beforehand, and I just set up cameras. We brought in the puppies, and we just played for 45 minutes, an hour, and then I felt bad being like, okay, you got to go back to work now. I got to go back to work. But yeah, that was awesome. So we still we haven't done as many surprises while we're on the road, but we're wanting to incorporate that a little bit more and maybe surprise people. Like we thought about posting on Instagram. Sorry, this is a long answer.
No,
but and asking people like, hey, in these upcoming states, who do you know that has some unique situation that we could brighten their day, and do you want to help us? And that'd be fun because we resonate with that. We want to be happy, and we're going to find some more fun ways to do that. So yeah, we do these adventures and then these crazy surprise prank videos. But not like I hate the prank videos that are like, husband fakes his death, or prank cheating on spouse. It's like, that's dumb. No one's ever uplifted from that. And you want to do stuff that actually brightens people's day and
What's awesome, there's a response to that too, because I feel a bit bad. One of my favorite things to watch is Fail Army.
Oh yeah,
I
same.
just, I don't know, it's this twisted version, and a lot of people like it obviously because it's very, very popular. But what I love is, as you said, like the simplest thing to put together has probably been one of your most watched videos online, which was just like being showered in puppies, which is like, I don't know,
Not about right
yeah.
life.
So that's,
We're
I
just talking
think
about-
that's awesome.
I know. I can hear you guys.
Yeah.
It was yeah. It was one. Yeah. It was a great day. I was very, very surprised.
So if people that are listening have other ideas for crazy surprise videos, DM me so I can surprise Nelly.
Or
That's
me.
good, yeah.
Or DM her if it's a surprise because we legit want we do surprise each other too. We don't want
Oh
to
yeah, because
like
after you surprised
stage
me,
things.
then I surprised him with the hot tub in our basement. Like we started playing back and forth just because it became a fun.
Thankfully it didn't rip or explode or anything.
Next is going to be a hot tub full of puppies in your basement, and then
That's nice too.
bathe in puppies. It's it's awesome that you can. Again, a lot of it's negativity online, but it's cool that you can like try to one up each other with things that are positive and things that like bring actual joy to your, and try to one up. What a cool way to live. So I'm glad you guys have somehow cracked the whole meaning of life. Someone's figured it out.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
we can go to the Jurgys. So if someone wants to find you online, they'll probably end up finding you through you and not through me. But to say it on the podcast, wherever this thing gets shared, where do they find you?
Oh, we're the Jurgys on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. We're the Jurgys. Twitter.
Jurgys, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's good thing you're not like the Smiths or something. Then you'd have to like come up with something different.
It's true.
It's also a little complicated. People are like the Jerkies, and we're like, no, we're not the jerks. We are the Jurgys.
The Jurgys. Yeah. My son just told me back to Avengers. He was like, "Dad, I have something to admit." I was like, "Oh, what, bud?" And he's like, "Until very recently, I thought that Hawkeye was Hawk Guy." He's like, I was watching Avengers with like subtitles, and he was like, "Hawkeye? It's not Hawk Guy?" I was like, "How long did you think this, Owen?" He's like, "Until pretty recently, Dad." I was like, "Really? We've been watching Avengers for like 10 years. You thought it was Hawk Guy?" So it can happen to the best of us.
Yep.
The Jurgys. Sweet. And you have a website, right? Is it just thejurgys.com?
Yeah. Yep. Jurgys.com. And on there you can find our YouTube and Instagram. Through Instagram you can find our Facebook, but we're gonna be doing a lot more on Facebook as well.
Sweet.
A lot of our audience is older and they're on Facebook more. So
Yeah, I would imagine I don't know. I guess people would look at it from a different perspective. The older people are like, "Oh crap, I'm running out of time. I better do something cool like the Jurgys," and the young people are probably wanting to live a life like you guys. So inspiring everybody from all walks of life.
Trying.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, stay in touch as you guys go to New Zealand, and I'll be definitely watching what you guys are doing. So
awesome. Thanks,
super
Mike.
Super cool. Thank you very much. So there you have it. My conversation with the Jurgys. I am constantly intrigued and inspired by people like the Jurgys who show everybody there is a different way to live life on planet Earth, and it can be fulfilling and it can be rewarding and your needs can be met and you don't have to climb some corporate ladder somewhere. And as I said, this is probably in the base case interesting to me, but over the last 10 months where I've taken this leave of absence from the corporate world, it is even more interesting and inspiring and intriguing for me. So really cool to meet a couple like that. I love this idea of hiding treasures. I'm going to put together, now that Techno Wizard 3 is with the editor, I've got some downtime to kind of catch up on other random projects. One is get the podcast back up and running, but another one I'm going to do these little treasure boxes, these Techno Wizard treasure boxes, and hide them up in the rims up in Billings, because I live right next to the rim rocks, which is really, really cool. There's all sorts of cool hiking trails and pockets and places to hide stuff, and I just think, what a cool idea the Jurgys have done, and I can do it. It's just a perfect setup, kind of where I live. And I've talked to like every school kid in Billings, so I'm going to schools and stuff. So it'd be a really fun, kind of cool thing to put clues on my website and hide these Techno Wizard treasures in the rims. So taking a note from the Jurgys and my inspiration from them, that's what I'm going to do. So my guest next week is going to be Frank L. Cole. Frank is another middle grade fantasy author, an all-around cool dude. So tune into that, and until then, the call to all nerds is always extended. Please, when the call comes your way, respond to that call.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Calling All Nerds. To find out more about Mike, his novels, blog posts, videos, and everything else interesting, go to mike-thayer.com.